Alrighty, so UFC is gonna be on a little bit of a dead streak. Alright, we're going cold turkey for the next 2 weeks, okay, while they cook up something good. I'm recording this before UFC Noche, okay? So whenever this goes up is whenever it goes up. However, alright, I wanted to talk about something I think is very important as someone a little newer in the space. Now, self-admittedly, I've only been watching this sport for about 3 years, and by watching the sport, I do mean I've watched pretty much every event, top to bottom, in the last 3 years, 2 years, 8 months, 2 years, 9 months, something like that. But regardless, I've watched a lot of UFC in my time, and I'm a pretty big fan, okay? But even myself, I don't know if I'd consider myself a hardcore. Yeah, I watch top to bottom every single card, but, you know, what really is a hardcore? And, that's the question, isn't it? And in my personal opinion, from my standpoint as someone who's watched for 3 years, I barely consider myself a hardcore. If someone wants to consider me a hardcore, I get it, okay, because they're casuals. But, yeah, I'd say probably a hardcore is someone who's been watching anywhere from 5 to 10 years in that range, and they've been watching consistently, like, cards, I'd say at least twice, like, at least half the cards a month. So if there's 4 cards in that month, they must have watched at least 2. You know, they get the boys together, they sit down, and they've been watching UFC every single weekend for a fucking couple years, right? Half a decade plus, right? That's typically what I consider a hardcore. So I don't consider myself a hardcore. I consider myself a fairly new blood into this space, okay? But with that being said, I wanted to do this video on the fighters that I think get way too overglazed by the hardcore fan base, and it fucking pisses me off, alright, when I see these hardcores, alright, fucking glaze some of these fighters. So, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna start with the least overglazed, I guess we will, of the hardcore fan base, and then we're gonna work our way to the top. Now, a few prerequisites: they have to be in the UFC currently, and I'm gonna be prioritizing rankings over most. Yeah, that's pretty much how this goes. So starting with the least overglazed fighter from the hardcore fan base, in my personal opinion, okay, is gonna be Calvin Kattar. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Who the fuck's a fan of Calvin Kattar? Now, it's not necessarily fans of Calvin Kattar, okay? It's more or less the people who don't like Calvin Kattar's opponents, alright, that are fans of Calvin Kattar. So that's why he's kind of on the bottom here. I don't really know anyone who's like, Calvin Kattar is one of my favorite fighters, you know? Typically, it's Max Holloway over Calvin Kattar if you're looking at, like, featherweights. I know Max Holloway's lightweight now, but you get my point. But Calvin Kattar's just been dog shit for a while. And I'll be honest, as I mentioned, been watching 3 years. I haven't seen this motherfucker win a fight. I haven't seen this motherfucker have success in a fight. Just being dead ass. Alright? I feel like it was ever since his knee injury, where Calvin Kattar allegedly was never the same. Yeah, motherfucker's still picking him. Alright? Most people, I think, had Aljamain in this fight. But, you know, the Calvin Kattar heads were talking about how he could survive because he's got, like, a wrestling background or something like that for Calvin Kattar. Doesn't matter. Bro went through a bunch of knee surgeries. He's getting fucked up. And if you were picking Calvin Kattar in the Aljamain fight, you were just biased. You just don't like Aljo. You know, that's pretty much why you pick Calvin Kattar there. But for certain reasons, okay, we're not going to get into. But, no, I'm just kidding, obviously. But I do think, like, when we look at Yusuf Zalal and Steve Garcia, this is where the Calvin Kattar fans came out in droves, okay? When I saw Yusuf Zalal, and I picked Yusuf Zalal, there was a lot of people, not my DM specifically, but people who also picked Yusuf Zalal. There was a lot of people hating on that pick. I don't remember if Jacob from We Want Picks made him lock of the week for this, because Yusuf Zalal might have been a heavy favorite. I can't remember. It was a little while ago, actually. I can't believe... Was that really this year? That's crazy. It feels like it was so long ago. But yeah, Yusuf Zalal, you kind of had to pick. I mean, the guy really... He got cut because he lost to 3 good names back in the day. I can't remember exactly. It was Ilya Taporia and somebody else, right? Sean Woodson, yeah, like, I mean, no shame there, you know, Song Woo Choi, yeah, it's what it is, but for the most part, he goes on a tear or whatever, and on his tear, he's been looking like a fucking killer. So if you're picking Calvin Kattar in this fight, the old heads were just like, oh no, Calvin Kattar's boxing, bro. It's gonna be too much, bro. His boxing's just too crisp. No one can hang in the pocket with him, okay? You know, Max Holloway did well, but he was getting tagged up by Calvin Kattar, okay? I promise you that. All right, and if Yusuf Zalal gets in the pocket, I mean, Yusuf Zalal didn't get in the pocket, okay? So maybe it was a little justified for the fans to overglaze. But the Steve Garcia one, this is where I received backlash for my Steve Garcia pick. Now, I wasn't very high on Steve Garcia. I thought Steve Garcia was probably going to get it done. I think I went with KO just because I thought Calvin Kattar's chin wouldn't be the same at his big age, falling on the down spiral. But he did end up being tough enough for Steve Garcia, I guess. But everyone was picking, not everyone, but there was people I know that were picking, and people messaging on my YouTube video, or it was the comments I was talking about in like a YouTuber's fucking live chat. I can't remember. It was a little bit ago, but there's a lot of people giving me flack for picking Steve Garcia over Calvin Kattar, being like, Calvin Kattar by masterclass. No one can hang with Calvin Kattar in the pocket. The same fucking arguments over and over again. Calvin Kattar's boxing's too good, man. Have you seen Steven Garcia, bro? This guy gets tagged. Yeah, but he's also not washed. He also didn't go through like 4 different knee surgeries. And he also doesn't fucking suck. I mean, like, Calvin Kattar might have went in his fucking run, okay? Back when Zabit Magomed Sharipov beat him, okay? But, yeah, I mean, like, I don't think this guy, he's really never beat that high competition, you know? Jeremy Stevenson, Danny Ige, Giga Chikadze, like, I mean, it's not really the craziest names to have on your fucking resume there, you know? So I thought a lot of people were overglazing Calvin Kattar, and it seemed to be all the people who've like watched all of Calvin Kattar's fans. I know there's only like 5 people left that are fans of Calvin Kattar, but that's pretty much why I put him at number 10. There's a lot of people you could have put here. You know, you could have put Kelvin Gastelum because literally only fucking fat mukbang enjoyers, fat Nikocado avocado watchers like Kelvin Gastelum, so that's literally like 2 people, alright? But yeah, I mean, you could have put so many names here, but I just decided to put Calvin Kattar personally, because I had personal beef, because that one guy by Calvin Kattar by masterclass on Steve Garcia. He's gonna TKO Steve Garcia, bro. Yeah, how did that turn out, you know? Obviously, things would be different if Calvin Kattar won, but he didn't, so that's why he's here. Moving on, we have, not Yusuf Zalal, sorry, I just brought him up. Moving on, we have number 9 as the most overglazed, from the hardcore fan base. That is Brian Ortega, and the fact that people genuinely were picking Brian Ortega in the Aljamain fight genuinely has me jaw drop. Maybe I'm too much of a young blood. All right, maybe I don't have enough skin in this game. All right, to see the former eagle before he went in the cave and broke his beak in order to contest with the Youngbloods, even though Aljamain's older. You know, maybe I just wasn't around for that era, but I don't know how the fuck you pick Brian Ortega against Aljamain Sterling, like, at all. Listen, like, Aljo ain't no featherweight champion, okay? And Aljo ain't never getting the belt again. And Aljo is kind of getting overglazed now, but I feel like a lot of people are realizing Aljo, like, when you watch Aljamain versus Brian Ortega, it's very like, oh, that's how Sean O'Malley beat Aljamain, because he doesn't fucking move his head, and his entries are terrible. And Brian Ortega is really just a punching bag, until you make him, like, you have to purposely make a mistake in front of Brian Ortega and let him hit you, you know? Like, fighting Brian Ortega is like fighting your friend in Mortal Kombat, and you purposely have to drop the controller to take a bite out of your pizza in order for him to get a lick in. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of have to fumble the bag against him, and that's why he's got to win against Yair Rodriguez in the last 4 fucking years. But outside of then, you know, the guillotine that he had on Alexander Volkanovski is the closest he'll ever get to the belt. By far, not even close. But he got whooped by Max Holloway, beats that guy. Korean Zombie, I know. But, Then he fights Volkanovski, gets whooped. He gets an unjustified fucking, I get, maybe, you know, Korean Zombie hype, maybe, I guess, but kind of unjustified, but I guess they needed to fill the shoes because it was pretty much just Max Holloway at the top. That guy was just blending up all the contenders. But, like, man, the fact that people like Bedtime MMA, for example, were picking Brian Ortega against Aljamain is just, like, wild to me. I don't see what people saw in this fucking guy, man. I feel like everyone now can be like, yeah, Brian Ortega fucking sucks. He'll never be anything. Cut him from the sport. Fat fuck missed weight. Bro, this guy's 5'9" and he's missing weight. Like, oh my, he's 5'9" at featherweight, missing weight in big 2025. Are you serious? I get it. He was supposed to move up and, yeah, you know, the opponent fell out. He was a legend, so you don't want to say his name and call him out, you know? In classic T-City way, but you literally, like, I feel like the only people who like Brian Ortega are the people who watch that guillotine live. And that's it. You know? Like, I really feel like that's it, man. This guy's dumb enough to roll his ankle before they even start a fight with Yair Rodriguez. And he still somehow beat Yair Rodriguez. I'll never... Oh my god, it's got to be one of the biggest fumbles I've ever seen. Yair Rodriguez coming off his 2 losses... Or sorry, not 2 losses. It was 1 loss. It was to Volk. After losing to Volk the way he did, comes back and he gets smoked by fucking Brian Ortega. Sorry, the names here just fucking hit me with confusion for a second. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt like the old OG fans of Brian Ortega, those are the only, like, I feel like the Brian Ortega fans were picking Brian Ortega in every single fight since, like, Frankie Edgar, Cub Swanson, whatever. And they've never swayed from their pick, other than maybe Volkanovski. And that's because, you know, they ride with T-City, they die with T-City. So at some point you can respect it. But on the other side, it's like, how the fuck are you picking this guy? Like, I don't get it. And pretty much the only reason why he's higher than Calvin Kattar for me is because a lot of people, like, who picked Brian Ortega against like, there was a lot of people, man. A lot of people on MMA YouTube picking Brian Ortega thinking he even had a chance. You know, and Aljamain showed he didn't even need to fucking strike with him. I think, I want to say Running Mouth, also one of them. I think they have 3 people who do picks on their channel. Great channel, by the way. Shout out to all the channels I'm mentioning, okay? If I mention a YouTube channel on here, aside from one, I'll probably mention, I don't think I put a name on this list that he'd be a part of, but pretty much everyone I mention on my channel, I respect on MMA YouTube. But regardless, yeah, you just gotta be like, you watch this guy almost guillotine Volk, and you're still living in that moment when you see this guy fight another guy, you know? And people overrate his boxing like he doesn't throw one... This guy is Sergey Spivak at featherweight. And modern MMA fans will know how Sergey Spivak fights. This guy will wait, he'll throw one combination, and he'll be outside in range for about a minute, you know? And then his cooldown goes down, his world cooldown goes down, and then he goes in, and then he has to wait another minute, you know? That's how Brian Ortega fights on the feet. Like, bro does not... He goes in the pocket for 10 seconds, and he runs away for a minute, gets boxed. And it's like, oh, my cooldown's ready? Alright, let me go in. After, like, it's terrible, terrible. Anyways, terrible fighter. And I think his fans overglaze the fuck out of him. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be doing that anymore. Calvin Kattar, I don't think beats a lot of unranked, featherweights. I don't know why my brain was lagging. Yeah, Calvin Kattar, in my opinion, doesn't beat a lot of, like, unranked featherweights. Like, I think Sean Woodson, would probably beat this guy. And I think that's up a weight class, because Sean Woodson's 135. Who's, like, an unranked 135er? You know, I might hear my dog scratching the floor. Ignore that. But yeah, there's not a lot of people, I think, struggle against, like... Bro, current Andre Philly might beat him, you know? Like, Julian Erosa might beat him, you know? Alexander Hernandez at featherweight might beat him, you know? Like, shit like this, I would genuinely pick over Calvin Kattar. Same thing with Brian Ortega, and that's a common theme. Pretty much everyone on this list, except for some of the later ones, I pick unranked fighters to beat them. Moving on, we have Michael Chandler, okay? And this is purely from the Paddy Pimblett fight, alright? And if you were watching this fight, and bro, Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler, felt like old heads versus new heads. I felt like every time I talked to someone 30 years old or older, they were picking Michael Chandler. Paddy Pimblett has no business being in there. All this other shit, right? And if you were 22, 24 and below, you're picking Paddy Pimblett because he's been slaughtering people. I get it, it's a bunch of old men, but he's been doing good. Did lose to Jared Gordon. Hey, hand up. I think he still lost to Jared Gordon, Paddy Pimblett, but I would never pick Michael Chandler against Paddy Pimblett in a fucking million billion years. All right, people like, oh man, IRL I'm talking to as well. You know, bro, on this list you get bonus points if IRL you've glazed this fighter in front of me. Okay, this has to be the most like dumb fuck takes I've ever seen in this Paddy Pimblett. Like, oh, Michael Chandler, but he TKO'd Tony Ferguson. And who the fuck cares? Like, he chinned Tony after he got fucking whooped by Justin Gaethje, okay? Who cares? You know? And then, outside of that, everyone he calls out, he's lost to. I want you, Dustin Poirier. Cue the submission. You know? I want you. Fucking, Charles Oliveira gets submitted. You know? Like, or gets TKO'd. He got fucking masterclassed on the feet by Charles Oliveira. That hasn't aged well, just saying. Charles Oliveira going out cold recently. But yeah, you know, his best win by far, in my opinion, is Dan Hooker. I don't really rate this Tony Ferguson win. He was kind of losing until he just fluked a fucking front kick. But the Dan Hooker win was genuinely a good win. He showed genuine power. But also, this guy's been knocked... Was he knocked out by Patrice Pitbull? I don't want to get this wrong. Benson Henderson, man. Like, Jesus. Like, fuck it out. Oh, my God. Who was it that, he lost to Eddie Alvarez. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Fucking hell. I swear, isn't Patricio Ferreira, isn't that Pitbull? Yeah, that is Pitbull. I was gonna say. Yeah, he lost, but he got knocked out by a fucking featherweight. I just, like, I really don't understand anyone who's picking Michael Chandler, especially at 38. And what pisses me off, 39. And what pisses me off even more, people were picking Michael Chandler. Like, old heads were picking Michael Chandler. People have been watching 10 plus years. 30 to 40 year olds picking Michael Chandler. And then the moment Chandler loses to Paddy Pimblett, he's 38 years old. He was washed anyways. You guys gotta be the most annoying fucking fan. Like, one of the most annoying things is to see, like, to full-heartedly pick someone, and then they lose, and all of a sudden, he's washed. Yeah, that's like the definition of Iron Michael Chandler fans. You know, it's just crazy to me. But yeah, that's my pick for number 8 here. Okay, and number 7. Okay, a little bit of a newer generation of hardcore fans, I'd say. You know, but my pick here is gonna be Ian Gary, and Ian Gary fans act like this guy's still gonna be a champion one day. He's not. He's just not. And a lot of the hardcore fans that like currently watch the sport and that have been watching the sport for a while, they're picking Ian Gary in a lot of matchups. Obviously, they're doing well because this guy's doing well. But like, the thing with Ian Gary is that he is being fed fucking cans. The Shavkov fight, that was a good fight. On paper, I'd say. I'm trying to think of a good way to phrase it. Like, it was a shit fight. Don't get me wrong, it was a terrible fight. But for some reason, Ian Gary fans just have this fucking out, like, they stock it away, and they're like, it is what it is. He lost to a guy who's never lost before. Yeah, he still looked like shit. He still couldn't finish a rear naked choke, even though he had it locked in, you know? Whooped Neil Magny, couldn't finish him, which is kind of aging bad. Even though he could have finished him, but he didn't finish him. You know what I mean? Just with low kicks and everything. But, you know, Jeff Neal win. It's a shit fight as well. Like, Ian Gary fans will act like this guy is, man, he's just good everywhere, man. Man, he just fills in so well at welterweight, man. Man, this guy, you know, he is a future champion. You know, he's called the future for a reason, man. Bro, he's not. Like, this guy, he'll be top 5. I've no doubt he'll make it top 5. But the fact that people still think this guy's going to be the next champion, I get it, he's young. This guy's, he's vegan built, and that's the best way I can describe it. You know, he looks like he gasses out in the later rounds. He's soy, he has boring fucking performances. And you know what they do to the people who have boring fucking performances? They sit him down, and they say, you can wait in line while we figure out the belt for a little bit, okay? You know, we'll have a new champion. We'll have that new champion defend his belt. We'll have that new champion do a rematch. Oh, and then maybe we'll think about you, okay? This guy's basically Bilal Muhammad 2.0. And I get Bilal Muhammad did get the belt, but this guy isn't built like Bilal Muhammad, all right? He's got a little pea head asking to be fucking crushed, all right? So, I did pick Ian Gary to beat Carlos Prates. So if you think I'm biased because I got like a pick wrong here or something, okay, I think I even picked Shavkat against Ian Gary. But if you think I'm biased, I'm not. I've been like, I didn't get the Michael Venom Page pick right, even though it was close. But yeah, I am not like that high on Ian Gary, even though I've been picking his fights right. You know, he's just been getting fed easy matchups, and he's been doing well against easy matchups. Like Carlos Prates, off of fighting only victims, like, you know, that's just an easy fucking, easy Ian Gary pick, you know? But, yeah, I feel like a lot of the hardcore fan base that are fans of Ian Gary, they're literally, they just ignore everything about his personal life, and they only focus on, yeah, he wins fights, you know? And sometimes that works. But with Ian Gary, fucking annoying, man. Every time an Ian Gary fight's about to happen, these Ian Gary fans come out in droves, like, he's gonna win. He's gonna win by any way he wants. He's the next Conor McGregor. You know, people still say that. So people forget, man. He did try to copy Conor McGregor very early on, you know. People forget, man. Press conferences and everything, man. People forget. But yeah, Ian Gary, he's just up here because he's getting a bigger fan base. And a lot of Ireland's behind this guy. Bro, he's just, at the end of the day, he's a cuck who's vegan. Alright, call a spade a spade. But regardless, yeah, he's up here. Hardcore fans glaze this guy like a next champion. I think he's Brian Battle's next victim. Okay, when Brian Battle gets back. That's what I'm saying. Moving on, we have someone a little unexpected. Alright, and listen, this is about Overrated. Okay, there's no denying this next guy, Song Yadong. This guy's got fucking aura. Okay, when he shows up with the sunglasses, okay, when he's showing up representing China with the Chinese flag and everything, and he's getting in there and he's doing his thing, and he's talking about he's gonna finish this guy by round 1. Listen, he's got aura, okay, but he is still very overrated. Okay, he is probably one of the best definitions of all bark, no bite. And I mean that in terms of, listen, his Henry Cejudo performance where he eye poked, got warned about eye poking, eye poked again. I don't think they took a point, but no, they might have taken a point. No, they didn't take a point. They just had a 5-minute sit down sesh. But literally after eye poking Henry gets up after sitting on his ass for 5 minutes. Song Yadong just sticks his fingers right in his fucking face, like, I'll fucking do it again, you know? Aura, okay? Aura. But this guy's not going to be a future champ. He's 27. I get it, he's young. And if you've been if you're a hardcore fan glazing this guy, it's because you've been watching this guy for a long time. His Kyler Phillips fight, his Marlon Cheeto Vera fight back in the day, you know, back 5 years ago, man. You know, but you've been watching him for so long, and you're like, yeah, man, this guy's, he's just a young guy. He got to the top of the division, man. He's going to one day be champion. He's just not. Like, he's just not. The division's way too stacked. He's set to face off, I believe the rumor is Sean O'Malley right now. If that is the case, I'm picking Sean O'Malley. And, by the way, I mean, you know, there's going to be some fighters not mentioned on this list purely because of bias. Alright, don't get it twisted. I am 1,000,000% biased. But regardless of that fact, Song Yadong is halfway on my list here just because the Song Yadong fan base is typically touting this guy like, oh, first round finish, second round finish. Oh my god, this guy's a fucking, you know, it was a close decision against Corey Sandhagen, guys, you know. That's all it was, you know. Oh, it was a TKO because of the eye. He was winning that fight before the fucking TKO stoppage, you know? But, you know, the Peter Yan one, I was even on the Song Yadong train for this. I should have seen it coming. Vintage Peter Yan, 29-28. But the thing with Peter Yan, much like Corey Sandhagen, which is not on this list, so I'll mention it, they always fumble when they're against good opponents, and they have lackluster performances against people they're supposed to slaughter. Chris Gutierrez, I want you to be finishing. If you're this young, touted, next big thing in the division, your next fight's against Peter Yan. I need you finishing Chris Gutierrez. Just saying, okay? And he came in, round 1 finish, and he just lays on him for about 3 rounds. It was a boring fucking fight. This was one of the first cards I think I started watching top to bottom. Boring fucking fight. Really just at the wheel. Like, Jesus Christ. I was so on the Song Yadong train at this time too, so maybe, hey, personal bias, okay? I felt burned by this, okay? But the Peter Yan fight, I thought it was probably going to go to decision. It did. It just didn't go Song Yadong's way. Peter Yan got it done. And then the Henry Cejudo fight, I'm pretty sure I picked Song Yadong. But the fact that it's also like a Henry Cejudo might win this one type of fight, like, just kind of rubs me the wrong way when I think about Song Yadong fans. Because Song Yadong fans will tout this guy as like, you know, they beat Corey Sandhagen in a rematch. He doesn't. He's going to be champion one day, but he Murad's in the division, okay? But yeah, I mean, he's young, I guess. But outside of that, like, bro's got a tiny reach as well. I don't know what his reach stat is. But I believe his reach is, like, pretty tiny in comparison to a lot of other things. But, yeah, this guy, I think, just fumbles his performances against any... And skill for skill, he's not bad, but he's still nothing spectacular. Like, his power isn't anything crazy. His speed is pretty good, I guess, but that's, like, the Chinese buff. You know, any Chinese fighters can be fast on the feet. I don't think there's a single Chinese fighter that isn't fast on the feet. Maybe the slowest might be Zhang Mingyang. That's about it. You know, I think that's the slowest you get. But his power isn't anything to write home about. His kicks aren't that good. He's got thick legs, but doesn't really seem like there's any steam on it. His wrestling is barely passable. Jiu-jitsu looks like it's non-existent. Defensive grappling's all right. I mean, Peter Yan did have some wicked takedowns, but, like, yeah, just overall, it's just, yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. Song Yadong, yeah, you know, just, yeah. But Song Yadong fans will always tout this kid as, like, the next champion, much like Ian Gary fans. But I feel like Song Yadong fans have more reason to believe it because he's been around for so long. And I just think it's even more unjustified because bro hasn't improved in, like, 4 or 5 years. You know, it feels like he's been the same since, honestly, since this Marlon Moraes fight. And I know he finished Marlon Moraes, but Marlon Moraes is a much shittier opponent. Compared to, like, Peter Yan, Corey Sandhagen, Henry Cejudo. Like, I think we all agree there, especially in the time. Watch Marlon Moraes. But regardless, yeah, Song Yadong's up here just because people just overglaze him, alright? I think he gets overglazed a little too much. Moving on is someone I'm a fan of, okay? And this is why I don't consider myself a hardcore, guys. It's Justin Gaethje at, what are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number... What is this? Number 5, Justin Gaethje, okay? I'm a fan of Justin Gaethje. I actually think he's a sick fighter to watch. But he is dog shit, okay? And what I mean by dog shit, listen, he hits like a fucking freight train, okay? He's got very little to any head movement. He's got very predictable, every time he engages, he dips his head down like a Nurmagomedov for some reason, alright? And his dirty boxing is some of the best, right? When his opponent stands there like Fiziev did in the rematch, and just lets him get uppercuts off constantly, and the right hook over the top constantly. But overall, Justin Gaethje, he requires you to be dumb and fight with him the way he wants you to fight. That's it, you know? And if we look back, this guy also has really gifted fights. You know, he's been in the top division, and he did earn it, because he got it against James Vick, I want to say? Or, who was it? It was somebody, Michael Johnson, I think it was, right? That was the first one? Yeah, that was the first one. Michael Johnson, sick performance, sick fight. One of my favorite fights to rewatch. even though I didn't watch it live, as I've only been watching it for 3 years, this was a sick fight. If you're ever looking for scrap, you're newer to the sport, you want to get into the sport, this is the fight you want to watch. Michael Johnson, Justin Gaethje, sick fucking fight. Losing to Eddie Alvarez, bad look. I think Eddie Alvarez is one of the worst champions ever. Maybe that's a like, not recency bias. I don't know what to call it, like young blood bias, I guess, because I never watched Eddie Alvarez's rise. But I feel like every time I watch him fight, he's just dog shit. I don't understand how anyone lost to him, personally. But the Dustin Poirier loss, no shame there. Dustin Poirier's a G. James Vick, sure. You know, the win over James Vick, win over Edson Barboza. I think he remained ranked this time as well. I think that James Vick was to keep his rank at whatever he was. Edson Barboza, Edson was going up a weight class. He got fucking smoked. But Edson is never, like, he's never really beat the top echelon either. You know, he's fought the top echelon, but he's kind of like budget cut Jose Aldo in a way, just with kicks instead of boxing. Donald Cerrone, good win, I guess, but Donald Cerrone, in my opinion, this was like, this era, like this 2015 to 2019 era, in my opinion, was like the era where featherweights were fighting at welterweight and shit, and it was just like weird. It's very hard for me to give a lot of credit on a Donald Cerrone win, because I think Donald Cerrone fought at featherweight, but he obviously fought at lightweight and welterweight. And I just think, like, congrats, I guess, that you fought at multiple weight classes, but much like RDA, it's just like, brother, like, fight at your natural weight class, be good at your natural weight class, you know? So it's hard for me to credit wins when fighters are fighting at a like thicker weight class, you know? I don't know, maybe that's just me or something, but that's how I kind of feel, you know? Like when Kevin Holland wins at middleweight when you know he can make welterweight, it just sort of like pisses me off, because it's like, what the fuck are you doing up a weight class? Like, lock in for a second and fight at your like natural weight class. Like, I don't know. Or when you see them lose and it's like, hey, no shit, how about you cut some fucking weight, you know? But yeah, that's how I personally feel. Tony Ferguson, I mean, this is probably like the most credited win, because that was to end Tony Ferguson's run. But yeah, ever since then, you know, lost to Khabib, beat Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler fucking sucks. We've already talked about him. I lost to Charles Oliveira. It's fine. Charles Oliveira was in his era. It was a Charles era back then. Rafael Fiziev, great win, even though it was very close. And then Dustin Poirier, that was, we can call a spade a spade. It was literally a fluke. He flew a head kick in Salt Lake City. Plot armor took over. Fucking Jesus took the wheel and gave him that head kick KO. And that's arguably when Dustin Poirier started becoming what, like, after that fight was kind of where he started becoming a little bit more washed and a lot more hesitant when engaging in firefights after being KO'd. Makes sense. Max Holloway, people picking him, and this is kind of where, like, the overrated for me comes from, because when you think about it, and you hear the fight, Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway coming up from featherweight. Ooh, fuck. This is going to be a rough one for Max Holloway, you know? Justin Gaethje's coming off 2 wins back-to-back, you know, after his long layoff. But, you know, it's going to be a rough one for Max. And I picked Max Holloway. I think I bet on Max Holloway. I think I put 50 on him. And that was a nice double up. But, yeah, I mean, Max Holloway beat Justin Gaethje, and Justin Gaethje just had nothing. He was, like... It's the same fucking thing with Justin Gaethje. He hasn't learned how to fucking fight properly, you know? And every time he'd get into the engagement, he'd dip his head down like a Nurmagomedov when he'd throw, and he'd crunch up every time he gets hit. You know, it's very, like, evolved, brother. Like, you're looking at a fucking Charmeleon asking him to be a Charizard, you know? We saw him as a Charmander when he fought Michael Johnson, you know? He was getting his feet wet. You know, and he eventually became a Charmeleon, you know, when he fucking beat Tony Ferguson. But brother, when are we seeing this Charizard, you know? And I think he's just too old to become a, you know, he held the Everstone for too long, and now he's just never going to be a fucking Charizard. You know, he waited too long to get Fire Blast, all right? Taught on his moveset, and it was just never there. So, yeah, Justin Gaethje, he just didn't learn from this. And I feel like this Fiziev fight, bro, 10 days short notice. I think it was maybe even shorter than 10 days, but I want to say it was like 10 days short notice for Fiziev. Fiziev coming off a knee injury. Fiziev having a very dominant round 1, and then Fiziev just didn't adjust. That, like, after round 1, it was Fiziev not adjusting properly and being retarded. It wasn't Justin Gaethje, like, doing really well. You know, he was just barely tough enough to survive Fiziev's punches. But where the overrated comes from, people are acting like this guy deserves a fucking title shot. Justin Gaethje fans, I'm a fan of this guy fighting. He doesn't deserve a title shot whatsoever off of a rematch that he's already beat this guy. Okay, what, last year? 2 years ago? 2 years ago he beat this guy. Okay, and then he fights him short notice, and all of a sudden he deserves a title shot after getting slept. And then, oh my god, these fucking Justin Gaethje fans. Yeah, Max Holloway fight was exhibition. It was an exhibition match. It was UFC 300 for a belt at lightweight against a featherweight, and he got slept. I get it. If this wasn't UFC 300 for BMF belt and it was just Max going up a weight class, probably just ends in a decision. But that just shows you even more reason why Justin Gaethje is even more of a retard, okay? And listen, I like him. I like him because he's got that tism in him, all right? He's a good wrestler, allegedly, okay? According to, you know, Daniel Cormier, Chael Sonnen, and all these fucking wrestler fucking heads. But I feel like all these old heads are like, if Justin Gaethje just wrestled, man, he'd be champion. No, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. If that was the case, he would have wrestled against Charles Oliveira for the belt. And you know what would have happened? He probably would have got fucking guillotined. You know? He would have wrestled against Khabib Nurmagomedov. But he couldn't survive long enough to get wrestling going on Khabib. Alright? And that's a dog. Like, Khabib's striking is fucking atrocious. It is terrible. Terrible. You know? Literally looks like a toddler on the feet. No wonder why fucking Umar Nurmagomedov's striking so dog shit. Against Merab, specifically. But, regardless... yeah, like, Gaethje fans genuinely think this guy deserves a title shot because of one win. I'm so sorry. When this guy's been gifted fucking, like, ranked level opponents for his whole career. You know? Like, when are we gonna get... And, listen, he passed the test when he first fought Fiziev because Fiziev was on a tear. I get it. But, like, brother, where's the Armin Sarukian? Where's the Paddy Pimblett? Like, these guys are top 5. You need to be contending with them to prove you're number 1 contender. Pisses me the fuck off. You know? A 1-fight win streak does, in my mind, should never, ever warrant a title shot. It shouldn't, ever. I don't think there's any justification for it. Except for if Volk lost to Ilya, which he did, and he fought Arnold Allen, or he fought Yair Rodriguez in a rematch, or he fought Brian Ortega in a rematch for number 1 contender, right? And he rematched Ilya if Ilya stayed at featherweight. In my opinion, that makes more sense because that guy defended his belt, one of the longest in featherweight, and one of the longest durations, and, you know, former pound for pound number 1 at the time, moved up a weight, like, all that stuff. But that's because that guy's an all-timer, all right? Justin Gaethje's not a fucking all-timer, you know? And you already know this guy's going to be put in the Hall of Fame. Probably for, like, being ranked the longest or some dumb shit, or only being ranked in his career. Some dumb shit, like, reasoning to put him in a Hall of Fame. But I feel like Hall of Fame should be reserved for, like, all-timers, you know? I feel like they just put fucking anyone in the Hall of Fame now. But anyways, on top of they think he deserves the belt, I've had legit people IRL tell me Justin Gaethje beats Ilya Topuria. What are we doing? What are we doing? If he wrestles, man, he beats Ilya Topuria. What are we doing? What the fuck are we doing? Seriously. These guys are replacing the Oliveira fans. And I don't know if it's because people don't like Ilya Topuria, or if it's because they've just been watching every Justin Gaethje fight, and they're like, well, he's entertaining, therefore he deserves everything in the world to give him all the money. No, that's not how the fucking sport works. If you want to be champion, you have to deserve your fucking place. Just pisses me off. I could rant for hours about this, but I'm going to move on. These next 4 are going to be ones that piss me off because the fan base is very, very heavy on them. You know, and with these other ones, you know, Calvin Kattar, at least there's not a lot of fans. You know, Brian Ortega, there's not really a lot of Brian Ortega fans, and people are just picking him because they have nostalgia, and that's pretty much all it is, right? You know, this is like people picking their favorite card being like the OG Charizard or some shit, or like their favorite Pokemon card being like a fucking like a Mewtwo EX from like 2015 or some shit because they got that in the playground or whatever. I get it, nostalgia bias, whatever, right? Michael Chandler, similar situation, but they're just like a flip-flop, so it pisses me off like 3 times the amount. Ian Gary, pretty much everyone thinks, like, Ian Gary fans think this guy's going to be the next champion. He's just not. Song Yudong fans, similar situation. They're just a little bit more vocal, in my opinion. You know, people act like this guy, Henry, or fucking, so I can't wait for Sean O'Malley, Song Yudong, bro. People are going to be Song Yudong by first 2 rounds, you know. He just has too clean boxing in the pocket, you know. O'Malley's washed, you know, shit like that. But Justin Gaethje, undeserved glaze, and the rest of these are going to be very undeserved glaze. Nasruddin and Mavov, and this might be recency bias, okay, but it feels like all of a sudden people are just massive Nasruddin fans, okay? These people have been watching for a while, you know, talking about, yeah, man, ever since his Sean Strickland loss, he's just been on a fucking tear, man, you know? Ever since he got in here against, you know, Edmund Shabazian, man, you know, his loss against Phil Hawes, man, ever since that, he's just been a different animal, different breed, you know? Mavov fucking sucks. I'm gonna say it, bro. He does. Middleweights are dog shit. And, oh my god, man, I can't wait for Khamzat Chimaev versus fucking Amavov to be announced. If RDR Fluffy Hernandez is dog shit. If Amavov fights Khamzat Chimaev, hey, hand up, I hate Khamzat Chimaev's last performance. I can't fucking stand that type of performance. 500 insignificant strikes. Get the fuck out. Hey, just strip him of the belt because of it, okay? But if Amavov fights Khamzat, Amavov's getting submitted in like under 2 rounds. And that's not even like glaze on Khamzat Chimaev. That is because of how dog shit Amavov is. This guy barely strikes. Kyle Bahalio, listen, and I get it, it was a 50-45. No, it wasn't. If you watch the fight, Kyle Bahalio clearly won 2 of the 3 rounds. Arguably 3. 2 of the 3 rounds. Even I say 2 of the 3 rounds, and I hate this fucking guy. If you watch the Roman Dolidze performance where he struggled to finish Roman Dolidze, where he struggled, let me say that again. He struggled to finish Roman Dolidze and had a point deduction. And this is another thing we're going to be talking about. But, yeah, in this 5-round fight against Roman Dolidze, a guy who just got boxed up by Anthony Hernandez and then submitted. It was dog shit, and you could have given that fight to Roman Dolidze. I'll say it right now. You could make me watch that fight 10 times. I'll give you a different result every single time. That's how sloppy and dog shit that fight was. This guy is Sean Strickland sloppy seconds. End of discussion. 10 days short notice. Sean Strickland shows up, whoops this guy's ass. Okay? And the Mavov fan base, not all French are fans of Amavov, but all Amavov fans have French in them, if you get what I mean, okay? And I mean this, all of a sudden, this guy's like the best French fighter of all time, all this shit, right? Because Cyril Gane fucking sucks ass, and I get why French aren't fucking rallying behind that bum who's getting an undeserved title shot, but regardless, Amavov is dog shit. He's strong, he's powerful. His grappling is mid as fuck, and it's middleweight, so that's saying something. Mid as fucking middleweight is like A+ tier, bridging S tier, GOAT status in terms of fucking skill set, right? He's powerful as fuck, but outside of his, if you remove his highlight on Israel Adesanya, name one highlight, name one big moment from Amavov other than his Israel Adesanya performance. Name one. I'll wait. I'm not an Adesanya glazer. You'll figure out why soon. But outside of his Israel Adesanya performance, which he nutshotted, Adesanya tried to fucking aura farm like a bitch. Dumbass fucking fake fucking fighter. But all of a sudden people are like, Amavov is going to be the next champion. Bro, this guy is modern day John Jones, and I mean that in terms of the way he gets away with cheating in all of his fights. In the Caio Borralho fight, he eye-poked Caio, I think he nut-shotted one time. He got a warning for that. He eye-poked the next round. He got a warning for that. And he eye-poked in the 5th round. Okay. And the ref literally said, I'm going to remove a point. I'm going to remove a point. Goes over to the fucking judges or whoever's standing in the middle of them. And then he's just like, okay, all of a sudden I'm going to switch up what I was just about to do. And he goes over to Imavov. I think he realized it was a French crowd and he get too much flack, I guess. And he's like, listen, Baudet, okay. Was it Mark? It was Mark Goddard. Listen here, Baudet, okay. I don't want to see you fucking get your fingers out of his fucking face, okay, Baudet. All right. Didn't reduce his point, but Imavov did get away with cheating 3 times, and he grabbed the fence. Just saying. And then you have Adesanya performance, nut shot, and then you have the Brendan Allen fight. I'm pretty sure he eye poked him. I can't remember the specific eye poke. I can't remember a significant moment in that whole fight. And are we going to rate a Brendan Allen win in Big 2025? I'm fucking not. Jared Cannonier. It was an early stoppage. He was probably going to win that fight. He won it worse than Caio Borralho. Caio Borralho had a way more impressive performance on Jared Cannonier. And then Roman Dolidze. Dog shit fucking fight. Cheated against Roman Dolidze and actually had a point deduction there. He averages... This guy might actually average, like, a reasonable point deduction in every single fight. The no contest head clash, you could have reduced a point because of that. Roman Dolidze reduced a point. Jared Cannonier, I'm 99% sure I remember him eye poking him. Could have reduced a point. The Sean Strickland fight, I'm pretty sure even get this fucking guy out of here, man. I'm so tired of these cheaters getting away with it, man. But the UFC just don't care, you know. And the Imavov fans, they just don't care, I guess. They just really don't care this guy gets away with cheating. They don't care this guy wins fights after cheating. Like, wow, we got to finish on a guy he eye-poked a couple times. Wow, we got to finish on the guy he nut-shotted a few times. Like, wow. Damn. What an impressive performance. You know? Like, yeah, I'm sure Rampage Jackson's going to have a fucking hard time closing the distance and getting a double leg when there's a fucking finger constantly in his eye. Just saying, right? On John Jones, that's a reference, by the way. But yeah, it feels like all the old heads who are jumping on the Imavov train saying this guy's going to beat Khamzat just don't like Khamzat. Listen, I get it. I hate Khamzat fucking performance. I think he's a fraudulent fucking champion. Okay, he's holding that belt for the next GOAT. Maybe not actually, but yeah, I think we're in for a long wait for Khamzat to fight because he's probably going to get sick, probably going to have to pull out. He has a lot of canceled fights. He's a weight bully at the weight class beforehand. And he got lucky because he was able to push in Robert Whittaker's teeth because that's a common injury. But it just feels like Imavov fans are hopping on the Imavov train, either A, because it's the only likely French fighter to get the belt, or B, and you're French, obviously, or B, you're hopping on it because you're just hoping this guy finishes Khamzat. And I get why he's not beating Khamzat Chimaev. He doesn't have a fucking chance. That's my honest take. If Khamzat's not minus 500, I might put $100 on Khamzat versus Imavov. Genuinely. That's how confident I am. And I bet like $10. Maybe every event, every other event, whatever. But regardless, that's my pick. I think Imavov gets way overglazed now. He's by far one of the highest ranked fighters on this list. And the old heads who are rating him, you can't name one highlight outside of his Adesanya KO. And even then, he beat a washed Adesanya, who's not only Sean Strickland sloppy seconds, and fucking DDP sloppy seconds, but you know who else is Sean Strickland sloppy seconds? Oh, this fucking guy, okay? This fucking guy is Sean Strickland sloppy seconds. Remember that, Imavov fans, when you come at me, okay? Moving on to the top 3. For bronze medalist, the most overglazed fighter by hardcore fans, in my personal opinion, Khalil Roundtree. I can't believe the amount of glaze this fucking guy gets. And you know what it is? It's the hardcore fans, okay? It's the hardcore fans that will watch a Joe Rogan podcast or watch a Chael Sonnen video, not watch an event anymore, but they watched every event when they were younger. You know, back in the day when they were like, you know, early 20s. Okay, they were watching UFC. They remember the Benson Hendersons, you know. They remember when the Steel Cups got added. You know, they remember when UFC 1 was being aired and it was some fat fuck versus a jiu-jitsu. They remember the Gracie era, okay? But nowadays, they just watch a Joe Rogan podcast. They have kids that they're going on the weekend to fucking their fucking soccer games and shit, you know? They don't actually watch the sport. But these hardcore fans that are glazing Khalil Roundtree, acting like this guy, like, oh, he's going to be a champion one day. Oh, he arguably had the best performance against Alex Pereira. Not to glaze Israel Adesanya, because I fucking hate that guy. Adesanya beat Alex Pereira in a round. In one round. And you're going to say because Khalil Roundtree almost got finished in round 3, gassed out in round 4, and got masterclassed in round 4. And the only success Khalil Roundtree had was that one shot that knocked Pereira off balance doing a spinning fucking wheel kick at close range while he's on antibiotics, while he's doing a short notice turnaround, while he was supposed to pull out the night before the fight because of his health condition. You're gonna say that this guy's like championship material? Are you fucking kidding me? And if you're on my side and you're like, this guy's overrated as fuck, this guy's never gonna be a champion, Yuri's gonna fucking kill this guy. Hey, we're slowly becoming the minority. I've been seeing a lot of Khalil Roundtree glaze building up to this UFC 20 fight. Bro, Yuri Prochazka, I hope to God he masterclass Khalil Roundtree. I don't want to be eating my words here. I'll be honest, guys. You know, you're either a Kenny Okoye type, or you're just that 40, 45, 50-year-old who watched UFC back in the day, and you watch a Joe Rogan podcast, and you just hear the glaze, you know. And you see Khalil Roundtree cry, and you're like, man, I really feel for the guy. Man, he's just so good, man. What a comeback story. That 5-fight win streak against Anthony Hernandez and wait, what are the other fighters' names? Exactly. This guy's beat fucking nobody. This guy got finished by... This guy lost to Marcin Prachniow 4 years ago. He lost to Jan Kutalaba before then, and he's been finished by Johnny Walker. How the fuck do people think this guy's going to be a champion? Listen, I get if you're picking him against Jamal, because you're picking against Jamal, and that's because Jamal is shit, okay? I'll eat my words on that one. I thought Jamal was going to win. But man, the glaze that Khalil gets, like, man, this guy's just fucking dangerous. Who has he finished? Anthony Smith? Chris Daukaus? By a legal fucking knee strike? Or no, that was Modestus Bukauskas. My bad. But yeah, Chris Daukaus? You know? Arguably robbed Dustin Jacoby, and in my opinion, I thought Dustin Jacoby won that one. That was another one I watched live. I don't get it, man. I really don't get... I don't understand how anyone picks... Like, genuinely, in the ranked light heavyweight, like, when I'm looking at ranked light heavyweights, I am picking... almost... Okay, maybe not Zhang and Alonzo. Wow, or Nikita... Bro, I pick... If Johnny Walker gets a rematch, I pick Johnny Walker to beat Khalil Roundtree. Dead ass. I'm so fucking serious. If Bogdan Guskov Khalil Roundtree's made, I'm picking Bogdan Guskov. If Azmat Murzakanov, Volkan Ozdemir, Alexander Rakic, Dominic Reyes, or Jan Blachowicz gets announced against Khalil Roundtree, I'm picking them over Khalil Roundtree. This guy fucking sucks. He's slow. He doesn't throw enough. He barely throws kicks. Barely throws kicks as a Muay Thai guy, okay? And he's one of those guys who, like, it feels like he fakes the amount of training he does. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like when you see a demonstrator over-demonstrate something, and you're just like, huh, I feel like that's not how that works practically. Like, when he's showing his training footage, it's literally, he's showing just dudes fucking roll over, and I get it's like demonstrations or whatever, but I'm talking like when you see him spar and shit, you know? Like, when he's doing his knees, you know, and I get it, people do that, but the way he does it is just like, I don't know, man. It just feels fake to me. Maybe I'm just too much of a D1 hater of Khalil Roundtree, but I can't fucking stand this guy. I can't fucking stand these fans, bro. And these hardcore fans that are on Khalil Roundtree are only on Khalil Roundtree because of the Alex Pereira fight. And maybe that's a more casual take, I guess. But it feels like most people on the Khalil Roundtree fight side are just old dudes or Kenny Okoye types that are looking for a certain type of fighter to root for. Just saying. Just saying. Okay. But yeah, I just think this guy's a bum. I think he gets slaughtered by Yuri Prohaska in probably round 2, and barely survives round 1. Yeah, and this guy's 35. Like, this guy's not going to be a champion. I'm sorry to fucking burst your bubble. Moving on, we have silver medal for most annoying fan base from the hardcore side of the fans. And that is, listen, I'm a Sean Strickland fan, but goddamn, these fans are getting fucking annoying, okay? I don't give a fuck about Sean Strickland trauma dumping, you know, on his fucking podcast, YouTube videos, you know. The thing, I'm not going to mention the recent thing that just happened because I'm not really a political person. I don't care. I think it's a very obvious, there's one side of that take you have. But there's just certain events that will happen, and this fucking guy just somehow, like, finds a way to make it about himself being a psychopath. Brother, you're not. You're just a fighter who's a retard. I mean, just call a spade, you know? A psychopath isn't fucking 17-0 at, in amateur leagues looking for, like, a UFC fucking contract, okay? Training under Chael Sonnen, you know? Like, that's not a psychopath. You're just a fucking... You're a dude who's good at fighting. That's about it, you know? And his upbringing is rough, and I get it. But it feels like every single Sean Strickland fan, is like a fake... I gotta be careful with how I phrase this. Feels like... I gotta be careful with how I really phrase this. It feels like they're trying to fake being a tough guy, if that's a good way to put it, you know? Like, everyone goes through hardships, everyone has a rough upbringing to some extent, and it feels like anyone who's like a Sean Strickland fan is just like, yeah, man, real, you know, our king will make it back, you know? And there was an era where Deshaun Strickland, you know, I picked him to beat Israel Adesanya, so if you feel like sticking around for my picks and predictions, this video is almost an hour long, it's gonna be an hour long, you know, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit the like button, okay? But the Sean Strickland fan base now is just a bunch of fucking retards all circle jerking about their own trauma, being like, yeah, Strickland's the man for talking about it. I mean, who the fuck cares, bro? You're a UFC fighter who jabs and teeps. I find it, okay, as rare as this is, I do find it entertaining, Strickland fights, okay? As much as people, you know, certain gurus of the MMA variety will say the Paulo Costa fight was a little close. It wasn't at all. It was very clear Sean Strickland. And Sean Strickland whooped his ass. And the Dricus du Plessis 1 fight I thought was a robbery. I thought Sean Strickland won that one. And I think that's a very open take now. Okay, now that Dricus du Plessis lost the belt. But regardless, I've always thought this, by the way. I always thought he beat Dricus du Plessis that first fight. It was a very 50-50 fight. And that's one of those situations where if you gave a draw, I wouldn't complain. Even though there's no 10-8 rounds, but you get my point. But the problem I have with the fan base of the Sean Stricklands is this guy isn't like a fucking world-beating, like, this guy's not gonna be president, brother. Like, he's just a dude who drinks, drives a motorcycle, and he jabs and teeps in the cage. Like, he's not this savage fucking, like, bro, Michael Chandler fights are genuinely more entertaining than Strickland fights, even though this guy loses all his fights, he's watched, he's dog shit, whatever. Strickland's by far more technically sound and everything, but Strickland also does look scared in the cage. That's something to mention as well. He looks very scared in the cage when he's fighting any ranked level opponent. But the thing with Strickland too is, like, he tries so hard to be cool now and, like, be edgy, and it just feels so much like a grift. Like, Baby No Money, for example, it feels like this guy is almost like edgy Baby No Money, where Baby No Money panders towards any sort of minority group or any sort of fucking, oh, it's Pride Month. All right, let me go do my rounds about all the Pride flags and fucking Pride this, Pride that. Oh, let's eat a Pride cake or whatever the fuck, right? Strickland feels like the edgy version, where it's just like, yeah, I'm a real fucking American. I drink beer and I drive a motorcycle. I go fucking skiing before my fights. I light fireworks before my fights, guys. God, I'm so fucking edgy and cool. That's what it feels like his personality is now. I take streamers who weigh 150 pounds to split decisions in the cage. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Sneeko. It's just, who the fuck cares, And it is weak shit from him when he can't finish a streamer. And I respect the fact that he spars a lot, and it's like, that's a cool thing. But bro, he is just an emotional like little bitch, personality wise, and people act like this guy's the man. He's not, bro. Like, he is just an emotional little bitch. Call it what it is, And if Sean Strickland ever said this, oh, you call me a fucking bitch, man? Here's the fucking thing, man. I've seen little bitches in my day. I've beat little bitches like you. Bro, he just, like, he cries on the camera, gets a little emotional when he talks about anything political, and he fucking, when he sees his own fighter lose, he gets way too emotional. He runs in the cage like a retard. Like, he doesn't take his career seriously. Like, he doesn't. And to some extent, you can respect it, because he is, like, always fighting for the company, I guess. Whoop the Mavov. I'm still a fan of Strickland, don't get me wrong. But sometimes it is just like, brother, just put down Twitter for a day, please. You don't have to talk about every single issue going on and make it about yourself somehow, But I'm not even just talking about the Theo Vaughn stuff as well. Like, when I'm talking about the crying stuff. Like, it is what it is. He was crying about his backstory. I get it. It's first time, like, talking about it. But, it's just sometimes, like, the Joe Rogan podcast and shit, it's like, sometimes, brother, like, we get it. You're trying to be cool and edgy. Like, I feel like the Strickland fan base is just slowly turning into fucking emo kids. It starts off as, like, a pure-blooded American, and then you slowly turn into an emo kid listening to fucking punk rock in the background, like that meme, get down, boy. And he fucking does that thing. You get your own. And then he just starts laughing at him. Yeah, that's what a Strickland fan feels like to me nowadays. And I'm even one of, god damn it. Anyways, but yeah, that's my silver medalist. Pisses me off. The fan base is just fucking annoying. I like Strickland. Strickland beats a lot of the unranked fighters. Genuinely, there's some light heavyweight unranked fighters I probably pick to beat Khalil Roundtree. Umar Asai? Umar Asai, anyone? Umar Sai fans, where are you at? I might pick Umar Sai to beat Khalil Roundtree if that ever gets booked. Amavov, I genuinely think there's some hey, you give Brian Battle a Mavov shot. Just saying, my king beats a Mavov. That's all I'm saying, Justin Gaethje, I think there genuinely are some lightweights. Lightweights are, bro, Chris Duncan's got good odds. Mateus Rebecki's got some odds. Mateus Rebecki probably not, because he wouldn't be smart enough to get a takedown. And he'd just, like, be a punching bag, but still, Song Yadong, there's probably some, like, Vinicius Oliveira, stuff like that. Ian Gary, welterweight, yeah, Randy, yeah, he beat someone really good. D-Rod, yeah, Randy Brown, there's some welterweights, I think they'll slowly rise the ranks and beat Ian Gary. Chandler, I think there's a lot. Brian, like, these guys, there's a lot. The number one guy, Sean Strickland, I think he beats most unranked middleweights. I think he'll lose to some of the higher skilled ones. Like maybe Fluffy Hernandez, maybe Reiner de Ritter, stuff like that. I think guys who bring the pressure and want to fight, they'll probably beat Strickland. But yeah. Moving on to the gold medalist, the fan base that pisses me off the most. And this is a bias. I'll get it out of the rip, because this fan base never changes, and this is the most casual, by far, most casual out of the hardcore fan base, and that is the Israel Adesanya fans. I know there's only 5 of them left, but goddamn, did the whole fucking fan base piss me off. I picked, oh my god, I know, oh my god, man, when I picked Sean Strickland to beat Israel Adesanya, I can't tell you how many people IRL and people online I was seeing disagree with me, and just, goddamn, that boiled my fucking blood. But I still did pick Sean Strickland by decision. And yeah, Sean Strickland whooped his ass. People picking Dricus du Plessis over Israel Adesanya, you have to be a Kenny Okoye type. You literally had to be. You know, Dricus finished Robert Whittaker better than Israel Adesanya currently could ever do. And then Amavov, I picked Adesanya against Amavov, and that's just to show you how shit I think Amavov is. But Adesanya, to me, he's not one of the best strikers of all time. He's not even like in top 15. He's not even top 20. Bro, he might be like bottom 30, bottom 50 even. There's a lot of really good strikers I put above Israel Adesanya. This guy's like, bro, there's some I could just name off, like, just off the rip. Wonder Boy, MVP, fucking Sean O'Malley, bro, Islam Makhachev, Volkanovski. Like, bro, if we're talking about Dan Hooker, like, there's a lot of guys I put above Israel Adesanya for striking. And he really only got away because he was a big dude who's long and was an actual middleweight. That's why he had a title run. Paulo Costa, and he was drunk, it is what it is. But yeah, his run is also overrated as shit. Beat Anderson Silva, I think that was on a loss streak as well. Beat Kelvin Gastelum in a Hall of Fame fight. Terrible fucking performance. You fought a arguable lightweight. Fat fuck. Up weight classes. Congrats. You know, Robert Whittaker, great performance. When he fought for the belt, he finished Robert Whittaker, a young Robert Whittaker. That's probably his best win. Second best win of all time. Yoel Romero, people still to this day argue he lost that fight, and to be honest with you, I don't disagree. But yeah, that fight, boring as fuck. Nothing happened. Israel Adesanya was running the whole time. Literally, Carlos Olberg or Yusuf Zalal his way to a decision. So if you're shitting on Yusuf Zalal for his performance on Calvin Kattar, or you're shitting on Carlos Olberg, you have to like hate Adesanya because he did the same thing against Yoel Romero. Just didn't want to fight. Paulo Costa, congrats. You beat a guy, fought a bunch of cans in middleweight, and you finished him because he was drunk. Wow. Great. Goes up a weight class, gets fraud checked by Jan Blachowicz. Fights Marvin Vettori. Who cares? It's Marvin Vettori. Beats Robert Whittaker, and another arguable could have lost that fight. Some fans even still say to this day, Robert Whittaker won that fight. And I did watch the fight. I do think Robert Whittaker won it, but I can see why they gave it to Adesanya. Jared Cannonier, another boring fucking fight. Wow, he whooped Jared Cannonier. Who cares? It was boring. It was shit. It was terrible. Loses to Alex Pereira. Choked it. Once he fought an actual middleweight. You know, once he fought like an actual legit contender who provides some sort of X factor, he loses. Wow. Shocker. Gets a fluke KO. Fluke KO at the end of the day. Was getting whooped until he got the KO in round 2. I think I said before in round 1. I meant round 2. Loses to Strickland, loses to DDP, loses to Mavov, and people still consider this guy to have one of the best striking. But I'm gonna keep it a buck. This guy loses to like almost any ranked middleweight right now. Bro, like Kopylov Adesanya is interesting. That's what I'll say there. Kopylov should be the underdog. Probably does lose. It's interesting. Marvin Vettori, this guy shouldn't even be ranked. Paulo Costa right now could. Just saying, could. Brendan Allen. Could. I'm just saying. Could. Roma Delidze. Jared Cannonier, probably not. VP. Kyle Bahalio. Papa Twittiker. And a trilogy. Anthony Hernandez. Reiner Dorita. Sean Strickland in a rematch whoops his ass. I don't care what anyone says. He's just going to dog walk him for 5 rounds again. I don't know why anyone's like, bro, this guy's turning 37 by his next fight. This guy's probably not fighting this year. He might. And some people glaze him for strength is sexual. But regardless, the amount of overglaze he gets from the Kenny Okoye types and the like Adesanya fans, you're one of two. And this is how it is for these fighters. You're one of two for a Sean Strickland fan. You're an emo kid, okay? Or you're a fake, like, yeah, I'm a fucking true American. You're one of those fucking fake Americans, okay? I don't mean fake in terms of nationality. I mean fake in terms of representation. We get it. You like beer. We get it. You have a flag. That's about it. Cleo Roundtree, same thing. Israel Adesanya fans are one of two. You're a Kenny Okoye type rooting for your boy, okay? Because of a certain class at birth, we'll say. Or you're a highlight reel Andy and you just watch highlight reels and you see his highlights of him doing anime moves and you're like, ooh, that's cool. I'm a big fan of that guy. I hope he wins his next fight, man. Man, Israel Adesanya is just a man, bro. You see him on that Adrian Ross stream? Man, he's just a... You see him with that Jake Paul guy? Or Logan Paul guy? That WWE guy, man? Man, he's just a man, isn't he? And they just ignore everything about, like, who he actually is. He's a boring fighter. He's shit at range. He doesn't have a lot of power. And he doesn't have a lot of heat. He's a clip farmer. A fake bro, I still have someone to this day say, oh man, I love Israel Adesanya. I'm talking IRL because he's so real. This guy's the fakest fucking guy I think I've ever seen in the UFC. He's more fake than Conor because at least when Conor would yap, 90% of the time he backed it up until he started losing. Adesanya got groin shotted and faked being okay, locks out because he just got groin shotted and didn't take time that he was offered. Gets smoked because he thought he could fucking Jamal Hill, Alex Pereira his way to a clip farm. You ain't him, lil bro. You ain't him. You know? He thought he could aura farm by proving he's the true African against Dricus du Plessis. And then afterwards, he's all like, oh, it's all love, brother. It's all love, blah, 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 blah. You were just shit-talking the day before about being the true African. Where'd all that talk go? You know? Sean Strickland, similar thing. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna leave you frozen like Elsa." One of the dumbest fucking lines I've ever heard in the UFC. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but turns out no dude who jerks off the cartoons beats Strickland, bro, and that still holds true to this day. But yeah, it's just, bro, this guy's striking is like mid. If he was in another weight class, he gets fucking smoked. He does. If he goes to light heavyweight, he gets smoked. And you take him and put him at welterweight, he gets smoked. But you can't make welterweight, so. You know, when I say put him at welterweight, I'm saying, like, nerf his height, nerf his reach, because he can't make welterweight. You know? So that's how he'd be able to do it, because you have to take limbs away. And if you remove his genetic advantages, literally being 6'4" with a reach advantage, and fighting a lot of people who are arguably welterweights up a weight class, or 40-year-old men. If you remove a lot of those factors, he loses the fight. I'm just saying. But yeah, Israel Adesanya, I think, is the most overglazed by the hardcore fans. Currently, right now. For the most part, I went with ranked fighters. I think all of these guys are actually ranked. Yeah, all these guys are ranked. Right? Calvin Kattar's still ranked, isn't he? That's lightweight. What am I doing? Is Calvin Kattar still ranked? He's not. Okay, so Calvin Kattar's like the exception. Outside of Calvin Kattar, I think everyone on this list is ranked. And I picked them mainly because I'm just tired of these fucking hardcore fans. Listen, it could be because I'm a young blood. If you think I missed someone on this list, hey, feel free to comment it. You know, voice your disagreements. Maybe I missed a name. Maybe you disagree with the movements. Maybe you want to see me do the most underrated fighters currently or something. I don't know. But yeah, if you made it all the way to the end, you enjoy slop content and I appreciate you watching. And as always, I hope you have a good day.